Would you rather own 100% of a little grape or 10 to 30% of a massive watermelon? Welcome to the Nine Doors Down Show, where we discuss anything and everything about commercial real estate and investing. Let's get it.
Nine Doors Down.
John Lopez.
Nine Doors Down.
Hi, this is Tony Rose.
Nine Doors Down.
Hi, this is Anthony Pimentel.
Educated capital raising, networking.
Nine Doors Down. Nine Doors Down.
This is called a show!
What's up, everyone? This is John Lopez. Welcome to the Nine Doors Down Show. We're here with my guest host.
What's up, guys? It's Anthony Pimentel.
All right, how's it going, Anthony? How's everything with you? How's some of the events that you've had or we've had in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been well. We had a great showing at Glendale at the Investor Lounge and was it Paperback?
Paperback Lounge.
The brewery.
Yeah.
We had some new faces, good times, and we got to network, meet some new people who are just trying to get into the business, and I thought there was a lot of knowledge shared and a lot of good people we met.
There was. It was definitely an intimate setting. So for those that don't know, Investors Lounge Network is our partners at Hospi, Leo and Barton. They coordinate the one in the Bay Area. Anthony and our partner Guido manages the one in Southern California, and I handle the Las Vegas edition. And then pretty soon we're going to be expanding out to San Diego with people that we've met through Investors Lounge. So that's something cool.
Yeah, man, it's a great community. I mean, I think we're, like I said, it's all about networking, new relationship. That's what it's about, basically.
Yep, exactly. And speaking of Investors Lounge, we have our co-host, Mr. Guido Nunez from the W2 Investor. How you doing, Guido?
Hey guys, I'm good. Congrats on the new podcast.
Thank you. We kind of figured we're on Zoom multiple times a day, and let's start recording all the bright minds that we interact with, and let's plant the seeds with everyone. And for those that want to absorb our material, great. If not, hey, it's all right. Eventually you will. But hopefully we're just going to add value to people who wants the value.
Yeah, it's a great value. I love podcasts. It's mostly free, and you can really listen to it anytime you want. Like, I'm always listening to podcasts, whether I'm running or walking my dog. I'm just always downloading all that knowledge. So yeah, it's a great platform.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, Guido, we just want to let them know that you're our partner in our 20-unit property in Tucson, Arizona. And for those that don't know, and you may have seen it on on some of our social media posts in the past, but Guido is your A1 top-notch operations manager, asset manager. He makes sure the business is in the green and thriving for ourselves and our investors, as well as taking care of our tenants and the property. So Guido, like right off the bat, man, like what is it about asset management that you're drawn to, and why you're so successful in it?
I've always been kind of a numbers guy, a financial guy. So it always made a lot of sense to me, the operations of the business, and I like problem solving. So in asset management, as kind of what we do is we buy problem assets operationally, right? And we fix them up. We add a lot of value to them. We beautify them. We make sure that the financials are improving. As you know, in that Sherwood property, we're probably somewhere around the range of 35 to 40% above NOI when we first purchased it. So big improvements, and those are the kind of things that I enjoy. So what was the second part of the question, John?
Yeah, well, let's we can even backtrack it and unpeel it even further.
Yeah.
What were your past experiences with your career, your personal life, that kind of like paved this pathway for you?
Yeah. So great question. By trade, I started in analytics, and that was kind of my whole foray. And it's funny because I always struggled when I was in in the beginnings of in high school and in college with advanced math, and then I started to realize one day that I actually get this stuff. So I just started diving into the different financials of properties as I kind of got older in my career and reports and what I do, and it made a lot of sense to me. So somewhere around 2011, I was laid off, and I wanted to do something really different for me personally, because I used to dabble flipping houses, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to take it to a different level. And so I said, hey, I'm going to do apartments. Right. And I really didn't understand the way apartments really work, because it's a completely different world from single family homes. So I started like looking at different offerings and what brokers are talking about, and they always would talk about net operating income, and the payback period and all these different financial indicators. And so then I started looking at what they meant by all this stuff, and everything made sense to me. And I enjoyed it, as well. So I kind of decided I'd go into that a little bit more, and I started just unpacking and learning more about it. And, probably 10 years or so later from when I first started in apartments, here I am. And yeah, I just full steam ahead.
That's great. And where and my apologies, I forgot to ask this earlier. Where are you from, and where did you grow up in?
Yeah, so originally, born and bred Los Angeles, here in California. I moved to Orange County later on in the years. But yeah, I have a portfolio here in California. I have portfolio out here in Arizona and Tucson, and I have a couple other assets out of state, further out, like in Tennessee. So definitely, it's I've learned a lot going to different regions of the country.
Okay, that's awesome. And here's a question for both you and Anthony. I'll let you guys kind of ping pong off one another. How did you guys meet, and how did you guys identify that, like, hey, you guys could add value to one another to take things up a notch?
Yeah.
I mean, I can start. I mean, I still remember because I think did we meet at a Zoom meetup or something online, or?
Yeah, we've talked about this before, because we can't figure out exactly how we met. And I joke around with Anthony all the time, because on my phone it still says, when I call him, wants to partner up on a deal.
Several years later, now we have a deal together. We're partners.
Yeah,
exactly. But I do remember when I did get on a call with Guido. I remember exactly, because I was at Dickey's. I was at the restaurant, and we had a catering that morning. And I still remember I was taking meat out of the smoker, wrapping it, and then doing all these multitasking while I was on the phone with Guido, and it was pretty funny. That's why I still remember. It's like
you were. Yeah. And you were talking about your Indiana property, and I remember asking you how you manage it from out of state. And you told me that you had some sort of like 800 number that you set up, and then the tenants would call this 800 number, and it somehow routed to you. And I'm just like, man, that's like,
yes,
that is wild, because you're directly managing that property from out of state. And I just didn't know how you were doing that, right? Because you had all this other stuff going on, and you were doing that. And you were talking to me.
Exactly, man. Like, that's why we had a lot in common, because I also have a W-2. I was just very fortunate that I have some flexibility, and allows me to well, back then when I was managing it myself, I needed more time to be able to I guess take care of those tenants, and they had issues. But yeah, man, it was cool just sharing our stories, kind of just going back and forth our experiences. And I think several years later is when we got reconnected on I think a Phoenix property or Arizona property. You remember? I guess you asked me if I wanted to partner up, or what were my thoughts on the deal. It was a smaller multifamily. I think we had another partner, or you had another partner that you were looking into it with, and then that's probably where it started, I think.
Yeah,
we just stayed connected. And
And what year was this when you guys first met each other?
I Was it 2019?
Yeah, I think it was 2019, and then
Yeah, it was around.
yeah, that's about right. They're reconnected 2021 or 22, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, there's so much to unpack right there, right? Like, for example, if you want to get into the business, you have to like get out there, talk about it, meet new people. And, we met through social media or a meetup, but it started, somewhere around there. And the second piece is, when we talk about partnerships, definitely you want to make sure that you're developing a relationship, with the person before you kind of jump into the deal. Like I think I knew Anthony in 19, and I think we partnered up, guys, like in 2022.
Yeah.
Like in 22. But by then, I kind of like knew Anthony, and I already knew I kind of get along with him. I had my notes on my phone, and so during that time, I was like, we're trying to get some deals done, and I'm just like, man, I think I need to pivot. I need to kind of find a partner that has the same alignment as me in the area of Arizona, and kind of the same kind of box type. And as I started going through my digital Rolodex, Anthony was there, and I'm just like, I'm gonna call this guy.
I love
And
that.
yeah, it worked out, and the three of us get along really well, and I enjoy it, and I feel like we all have complementing talents, so it works, and that's advice I would give to anybody, out there. Like, don't run into any partnership, because I see it happen,
So you would say not only do the due diligence on the property, but do your due diligence on potential partners that are going into the deal with you.
Yeah. And it could be as simple as you're just gonna go grab lunch, and just look them in their eyes. I had one time a potential partner, we were having lunch, and he just was like, "Hey, so what do you think about Trump and the Republicans?" And this was at the height of the whole, Republicans were Democrats and Trump, and it's like you're either one or another, or you hate each other. And I thought it was an interesting question, because what he was introducing was, a little bit of, for lack of better words, conflict, right? It's like, how do two partners deal with a very sensitive issue? And so it could be as simple as that. Just go grab lunch. Maybe introduce a difficult topic.
So I get it. So you were able to gauge, each of you were able to gauge one another to see if this marriage could be a good fit.
Yeah.
Surrounding a difficult question that a lot of people, they get divided on.
You get divided on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
fortunately it was a good conversation on it, and that was it.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to, for the people that we meet at meetups, either we're hosting or not hosting? Like, they're rubbing elbows, right? They're talking to people, and some of the people that I've seen, like, they've been at meetups for 6 months, 8 months, and they're talking to people, but they haven't quite made that jump to taking action with potential partners. What advice would you give that person?
Take the action. Yeah, take the action. I would say figure out like what it is that you want, If if you're trying to figure out like what markets to get into, what type of assets to get into, what type of size assets to get into, what you can contribute, if you could just put that all on paper, and then you're going to figure out where the gaps are, and then start, taking action with the people that you're missing, in your puzzle, and make those connections, and be vocal about it. Like you want to be part of this, right? Making people know that this is what you want to do.
Yeah, that's some great advice.
Yeah.
And as basic as it sounds, like, you could learn all you want. And Anthony and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, we could learn and listen to podcasts all on, read books, and attend meet us, but all that knowledge, what is it going to lead to if you're actually not applying it?
Yeah, and that's so true. Take action. If I go to my younger self, that's what I would say. Take action. Start now.
It's either you get in the game or sit in the sidelines. Which one you want to do, right?
Exactly.
Put me in, coach. Put me in.
Yeah, put me in the game, coach.
Either we
I always
get down
say
or
that.
lay down.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned you started off in real estate, like you had your flips with single family
Yeah, I
homes.
dabbled. I didn't do too many. I dabbled on flips, but that's kind of where I started. And my mom was a residential real estate agent, so she always talked about like the path to wealth being through real estate, and I really wasn't too into it, but from time to time, she would come up with a property, and she would say, "Hey, because I was in corporate America, well, you put the money in, and we can like flip this house," and I'd be like, "Okay," and we buy the house, and so that's kind of where I also learned a little bit of how to paint and fix stuff, right? Because we were trying to save money, and sometimes she'd be like, "Come here, like you got to paint this."
Now, did that mindset come from after you got laid off? Like, hey, I'm gonna go start getting into real estate, or was it just, hey, I want to get in, like, I just want to have some extra income?
Yeah,
How did you transition from that kind of mindset?
yeah, that's a great question. And the transition to apartment was really more of a different mindset. I don't know if it's more of a survival mindset, where when I was dabbling in single family homes, it was more kind of like I'm gonna make a little bit more money on the side, where in apartments it was more of a realization that like corporate America kind of owns your future, your success, and we kind of sit around and we wait for these 3% raises every year, and we hope we're going to get promoted, and that kind of thing. And once I was laid off, my friend gave me a great advice that every 2 weeks you and the company are even, and that resonated.
Wow.
Yeah,
Never
even
thought of it that way.
yeah. So during that time it was more survival, and I went back to corporate America, and I spent a couple of years back in it, but it always stayed in the back of my mind, like my future, my success, everything, like wealth is all stipulated on whether I get promoted or I get increases, but it's what I do with my earned income to make it passive, and that's the key right there. And so I started thinking about different ways to build and have capital and have money, and I learned that you can borrow from your 401k, borrow, not withdraw. And I always tell people that,
Yeah.
because one takes a tax instant. But yeah, I went to apartments, and that was the mentality of I was going to create new income streams, passive streams, and if I ever got laid off, it would be different. It wouldn't be the world is gonna crumble. It was more gonna be like, I'm gonna go to the beach, hang out.
So would you say that when you're dealing with the flips, you had a scarcity mindset, but when you got introduced to multifamily, you started developing your abundance mindset?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I think a lot of us have that lack of understanding the difference. Instead of saying I can, think about how can I.
Right. Yeah. Just the way the way you say it,
Yeah,
is a big difference. Like, hey,
yeah,
I want to do this one day. No, rephrase it. I will do this one day.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel sick. Instead of saying I'm feeling sick, I'm healing at the moment.
yeah. Yeah, it's true. I made my son read when he was much younger, The Alchemist. And it was one of the first books I read. It was a super simple book that you can just read it in a couple of days or a day or whatever, however fast you read. But it's basically that premise. It's like you just ask the universe, you believe it, the universe will provide. And it seems like very simplistic, and it is, but yeah, you don't have to be like overly complicated to make sense of stuff, right? And that's what that book did.
Yeah, for those who don't know, yeah, check out The Alchemist. There's a lot of inspirational people that I'm reading up on. They've all read that book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about your first multifamily deal. Where was it? What was the condition? You know, what type of neighborhood, and how did you acquire it?
Yeah, my first multifamily deal was out in LA. And I got in it, with my brother. It was in a D class area, and it was built in I think it was built in 1908 or something like that. It was, yeah, it was really, and it's interesting because the three of us, when we talk about build, we're like, 70s, 80s max, and here's the '08. And I can't tell you the problems that come with early build. However, um, for investors that want to get into the business, and I always tell this, like early build and D class areas, it's probably the cheapest ones you can find. And if you're gonna do it locally, and that may be a foray into it. Just be prepared. It's a lot more work. It's a lot more hands-on. It's a lot more management. But if you're serious about it and you don't have the capital, but you want to try it, that may be one option, right? You don't have to get 100 units, but at least you got to start somewhere, right? So as you build the equity, as you improve it, you're going to trade out of it.
How many units was this property?
10.
10 units.
And where was it? Which part?
LA?
Los Angeles? Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was right in the center of all the.
So let me ask you this. There's a lot of people that I would say try to stay away from California, but I know you're originally from here. So did you have any, kind of like hesitance on like whether you should get into a multifamily especially in California that's more tenant friendly? What were your thoughts on that, or you were just trying to get into your deal?
Yeah, I didn't know anything but California. It wasn't until later that I discovered there, going out of state was an option. And there's a lot of benefits from going out of state, especially in owner friendly states like Arizona, right? I learned that way later, reading a different book, Out of State Investment, which opened my eyes to what you can potentially do outside. And I think having a balanced portfolio is a must, right? So I still invest in California. I still like California. But I balance my portfolio by going out of state and having a little bit of here and there. And obviously I don't want to be spread across too much. But for now it works.
I mean, that makes sense because California, you always are going to have the appreciation, and then you have other states that you have the cash flow. So I could totally understand what you're saying of having a balance of both.
Yeah, and California, rightfully so, gets a lot of bad rap.
Yeah.
Because some of these laws, man, I can wake up one day and I could be like, what are they proposing? Like, really? Like, it's crazy, right? However, it's one of the most dense areas, right? LA, Orange County, it's like so dense. Like, if you have a vacancy, I mean, you're gonna find someone to fill it, and if you don't, I mean, you probably should look at your management process because there's a lot of people, in these areas. They're working classes.
Yeah. So you still have that property, or did you already exit?
No, we exited.
You exit. Okay. So how did you like manage the tenant experience, knowing that, or later on, you learned that it was more of a landlord, or I'm sorry, tenant friendly state? How were you able to avoid like the squatters protection rights and like with your tenants?
Yeah, some of it was I just made mistakes, and I learned. Others was I just, once I started moving on and meeting brokers, I would have a ton of conversations with brokers, and I learned from there. I learned about new laws and ordinances that were coming, so I learned from there. So I was always learning. I'd read books on property management back when I property managed my properties, and so I try to get smarter. And then unfortunately, when you find yourself in eviction courts, right, you learn more. from the court process itself, for your attorneys, right? So it hasn't been an easy road, but it certainly has opened my eyes to how to manage within California. My leases now are very detailed, not because I like them, but every time I learn something, my leases get updated. And that's what I tell everybody about California. It's like, have a strong lease. And that helps a ton.
That's great advice. So with that property, what was a tough pill or lesson that you had to swallow that actually helped you get in and scale up to out in Tucson? Because for those that don't know, we have a joint venture with Guido, which I mentioned earlier, with a 20 unit, but you also have another 100 plus unit property out in Tucson. Right. So what was some lessons that you had early on that has actually helped you manage your current portfolio?
Yeah, there was one time where, I painted my own building. And it was tough. Like I go pick up a couple guys from the Home Depot, and this is early on, and I'd put all the buckets in my car. We'd drive down, we like literally like paint the building. Like, I'll never do that again. Because the summer was hot, you gotta scrape the stucco and repair, and then I don't know, it was hard. But I learned like the whole process of remodeling and what it takes to like physically add value to a property, the renovations, laying the floor. I rewired a building that was built in the 20s. Like that certainly wasn't easy. So when we start going to like other properties, other projects, where some people run away from a heavy value add, like like I not only manage it like shit. Like I some of these projects, my hands were you're in it. It's like I had a part-time job on the weekends, scraping buildings.
You know what? And I think that's why you're so great at what you do, man. It's kind of like experiences, right?
Yeah.
You kind of put in a situation where you're like, oh, okay, I don't want to do this again. So you kind of start putting systems in place, and that's what you've done with like how you operate our Tucson property and your other properties, and it's kind of just systematized, and it's helped us be more efficient. And
yeah
so
and
far,
you hit
I
it.
mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, you hit it right there, on the nail. Is once you establish a system and a process, I mean, obviously you're always going to want to improve it, but you can always move the system and the process to the next project or property, and that works, right? It's all adaptable, right? And that's, I guess, to answer you guys' question. Yeah, I had a lot of like firsthand experiences, but that created like a system and a process that I've been able to kind of move around into other properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a lot of like new people that are trying to get into multifamily who
Yeah.
talk about systems, but it's sometimes you can't just apply those systems if you haven't experienced some of the stuff that
Yeah.
experienced investors have gone through. So I think that's a really key value that you can't pretty much just teach. You got to experience it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think we've been successful, and our properties have been doing really well. And hey, we attribute that to you, Guido. Thank you.
Oh, guys, it's the
I
three
kind of
of
took a
us.
step
Like,
back.
yeah, no, for sure. It's the three of us. You guys, I can't tell you how much I enjoy working with you guys.
Likewise.
I think we complement each other, and I appreciate that. I don't say that loosely. So
Thank you, man. Appreciate
I just
it.
want to say thank you for forgiving me. So to the listeners, when I first met Guido, obviously, we met each other electronically over Zoom, through Anthony and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, me and my family, we just moved to Las Vegas. And during the due diligence period of our Tucson property, Guido and Anthony already, I think you guys flew out there the night before, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And then I was like, you know what? I could time it. I could get there in time. Man, it was just, I woke up late. I didn't hear my alarm. And to make things even worse, it was that time of the year where Arizona was an hour ahead of Las Vegas. So I I didn't even get there to the very end of the due diligence period. I didn't even take a shower. Oh my goodness. I will never forget that,
I
man.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Anthony and I were at Starbucks looking at some of the financial reports of the property, and I was just like,
Where's this guy?
Where's John?
Not a good first impression. He's
It
late.
wasn't
by,
a good first
He's
impression.
late by several hours.
Yeah.
Man.
So and you know what? I remember that too because you miscalculated. Not only that, you had to drive to Tucson. You were I think
past Phoenix. Yeah.
You're just putting your map for Phoenix, and that's an extra. You need to add another hour and a half to 2 hours.
Man.
So yeah, but it all worked out. It's all good.
So for the advice out there, guys, I would recommend if you can do due diligence on an out of state property, get there the night before.
Yeah.
Get a hotel, chill out, get relaxed. Don't try to take a 6-hour drive thinking you can make it, and next thing you know, the state's 1 hour ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And don't let Anthony pick the hotels either. That hotel we stayed in.
We like that one.
It's like, what is this place?
It had nice decor. I like the theme. It was cool. But that's awesome, man. I think let's pivot into, let's talk about, your other hat that you wear, which is you're really great at too, is underwriting. Man, you sort out, you have so many different relationships with brokers, and kind of like, what are you looking for in good deals? You know what I mean? And I know you, how do you call that? Probably kind of give us some more detailed information on maybe like how to make sure and check that the market rent is good, and what are the steps you take to kind of get that information?
Yeah. So, once you get past selecting the market and those other layers that you got to go through, and you're actually in your underwriting, in your asset type, and you're actually now you have a property that fits your bucket, then you're going to start looking at, the OM or the offering memorandum to try to understand, what do I got to work here? So, you're going to be checking really everything, right? Market rents that are listed in the offering memorandum, are those correct? So, there's different ways you can do it. You can go online, just on apartments.com. I always sort of see, what comparables are, how real those market rents are. I'll call property managers if I can in that area, try to see. I'll secret shop different apartments nearby, try to see, what it is that they're offering, right? So getting the market rents correct is probably one of the most important pieces that an underwriter can do. Because if you're off there, I mean, you're going to be off a lot of other places. So you have to get that piece right. And then you're just going to go down through all the expenses, and see how much of them are real, how much of them are light. I mean, I can't tell you how many, investors may not be reporting all their, whatever they don't report, right? So you want to make sure that those look correct and lined up. And sometimes you got to make some calls, right? You got to call the insurance or see, what those are coming in at, their premiums, just making sure the expenses are lining up. So, and then finally, you got to think about where you can take the property, right? So the property may be coming out as an okay deal as is, but if you can take it somewhere else, by adding value, that's what you want to do, right? So you start analyzing what kind of capex or capital expense you're going to put in there, what extras you could put in there, what rents where rents go from there, and so that makes a deal in itself. So yeah, there's a lot of variables in underwriting. There should be a class, someone should be teaching this, because it really is. I mean, I explained it really simplistic, but it's a very, very in-depth exercise.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. I mean, it's not like you don't just put the numbers in there that's on the OM. You actually got to go verify the market rent. Just because the market rent says 1,500 or something, it's online.
Yeah.
Talk to people. That's a really great point. Talk to PMs. and see what they're actually going for that
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
last 3 months or several
Yeah.
months. There's been a drop off. Has there been
Yeah.
more inventory? Like those are the kind of things you would adjust in your underwriting and being conservative, right? And I think that's key, being conservative and really verifying the market
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah. And it's important. We've looked at deals where we said we're gonna pass because I think one of the deals that the three of us looked at had like 25% rental increases back to back years. And it's like
How?
it doesn't make yeah, it doesn't make sense. And we dug into it, right? It's like, is it value add? Is it capex? Like, what's the jump? We even asked some really experienced investors in that area, to take a look. And so we were vetting it. Ultimately, we were just like, doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
So you have to do your due diligence. This is a lot of money you're going to tie up from your own and your investors, and if it goes upside down, you're in trouble. And that's the other piece I don't even think I mentioned. It's like when you're underwriting, you got to size the deal, and sizing the deal, can also be the deal breaker, right? If you don't get that right. So the only other thing I would say in underwriting that I think is worth mentioning is the more relationships that someone makes, the better. Because when we have a property, when underwriting it, I'm now thinking about, okay, I got to size the deal, and I already have some mortgage lenders that they're going to size it for me. They're my go-to. So you guys do too. You guys had some of your guys do it, but we already have like a bullpen of mortgage brokers that are going to size deals, right? So the more people you get, the better, right? Like we have a contractor, and we talked about it. One of the properties that we're trying to take, like I've never seen a chiller that big and that old in my whole career, right? But
Yeah. I thought that was a jet engine. I didn't even know what
yeah,
it was.
it was crazy, right? It looked crazy, but one call to a contractor who knew something about chillers that was going to figure it out for us, gave us a clearer picture as to not only what it would cost to replace it, how real that expense line was for chiller, because that was a big expense on that property. It cleared things up, right?
Right.
And so the more people that you can get in your digital Rolodex, the better. I'm always walking up to people when I'm out and about. Like if I see a truck near my property, like I will walk up to them and I'll just talk. If I know someone that is in a certain aspect that I need more, like I'll meet them. I'll add them to my digital Rolodex.
Yeah,
And that's part of underwriting.
That the people, Anthony and I, we've discussed this earlier, but like, everybody has a starting point.
Yeah.
Everybody has an end goal, but what's the missing component in between? It's always the people.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's the money, but it's really the people behind the money. That those are relationships that you want to build on, because you could offset your weaknesses with other people's strengths. Because if someone were to ask me, hey, go underwrite this building, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna underwrite it. You know what? It looks good. Let's run with it. But then the smart side of me was like, well, let me get Anthony and Guido involved in this. Let the pros take a stab at the deal, because on the capital raising side, I lean on you guys to know that, like, hey, it already checks off. Now I can run with it. Now I want to spread the gospel with existing investors and potential investors. And then that I think that's what makes our synergy, pretty unique and special.
Yeah. Find the who to the what.
Yeah.
Find the who to the what. Some very, very successful investor, which, like, I don't know, a few thousand under his belt, gave me that advice, and it made a lot of sense to me. Find the who to the what.
Yeah, absolutely. So Guido, what is the future painting of Guido look like 5-10 years from now?
It's a great question. I want to keep acquiring multifamily properties, 100 plus units. I just want to kind of live life on my own terms, whether I start, doing this sitting at the beach.
Yeah.
No, would be awesome, but yeah, that I think that's what it is.
I love that. So, all right, that's great, Guido. How about this? We're running short on time. Let's jump into our lightning round. This is
Yeah.
where we're just gonna ask you a few random questions and just go off of
Yeah.
your instinct and just blurt it out. All right.
Okay.
I'll ask one, and I'll let Anthony ask the next one. So Guido, you're stuck on an island,
Yeah.
and you're all by yourself, nobody around, but you have an iPhone or an Android where you actually listen to some music.
Yeah.
What is the one album that you could see yourself listening to over and over and over again because you can't listen to anything else?
I'd say Prince.
Prince, which one?
The one with the Revolution.
The Revolution.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome, man.
Prince
Yeah.
is funky, man. One of the most
I like
inspirational artists of the 80s, and
Yeah.
he didn't care what you thought of him. He just created.
Yeah.
His butt cheeks might have been hanging out, but he was
Yeah.
still creating.
Yeah. I think I would listen to him, and then he has a lot of moves. I would have a lot of time, and so I'd probably try to like mimic some of his moves, like from memory.
Yep.
Like Prince.
Minnesota's finest.
Yeah.
That's a
Is
good
that-
choice.
Is that where he's from? I never knew that.
Yeah, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yeah.
I never knew that. Interesting.
Yep.
That.
All
All right,
right,
Anthony, your turn, buddy.
man. I'm gonna change up my question a little bit. I know you traveled a lot. You were what? Where were you for the World Cup? You were just in. Where
I
did you-
was in
Dubai? Was
Qatar.
it Dubai?
Doha,
Oh, Qatar.
Yeah, Doha,
Oh,
Qatar.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. I mean, what would be your, I guess, vacation? What would be your dream ideal vacation for you and your family? Where would it be?
That I've gone to already, or that,
Or you
that
know you want to go to that you're just in your bucket list, where you want to take the entire family?
that I have not gone to?
Yes.
Oh, man, I would have a tie on this one. I would probably it would be a tie between Germany and Dubai.
Germany. Oh, you were close
Yeah.
to Dubai, weren't you?
I was close. Yeah, I was
You're
pretty
close.
close to Dubai. Yeah. And,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nothing tropical?
I've done so much tropical.
Yeah.
Jeez, like I feel like a brat right now saying it, but like I've done so much tropical. Like I just would rather go somewhere else.
Oh, that's awesome, man. It's the experience, right? Because
Yeah.
I can't get enough of tropical.
Really? Yeah, you're always in Cancun, but Cancun's fun.
There's just so much to do there. We love Hawaii. The Philippines is amazing with all the different island hopping. But yeah, I love it. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Dubai.
Cancun would probably. I've been to Cancun 2 times, I think. That's probably one place I would go back, because you're right. There's so much to do in
There's
Cancun.
so much. I mean, thousands of cenotes. There's
Yeah,
pyramids. There's so much to do. But
there's a lot to do there. So I would go back. Actually, we talked about going back there again because the kids loved it. Yeah, that was fun.
join us. I'll be there December.
Really, you're always there in December.
December or Thanksgiving.
All right.
Yeah, I gotta ask one last question,
Yeah.
for the lightning round. What is your superpower?
Oh my gosh, my superpower and you know what it is. My wife was telling me this. It's just like, I coach my son's basketball team. And there was, one, and I have assistant coach, and there's times when he will take over the huddle. He'll explain the defense sets, and he'll take the team. We'll talk to them. However, so right, and she tells me that she admires how much I'm okay with that, right? With the assistant coach, taking kind of like the spotlight or limelight, and I, my response was like I don't need to be the hero head coach, right? In this, right? I want to win as a team, and if somebody else has the answer, like, I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me. I don't have an ego about it. And so when I think about my career in corporate America, or here in multifamily. It's like I've been able to understand that, like, what I don't know, right? And because I don't know, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. Like, I'm okay surrounding myself with people who do know, right? And I'm okay with that. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I just want to like grow wealth and be successful and help other people